There's one topic that people ask me about constantly, but almost no one wants to talk about it openly. Digestion and bowel movements. Not in a joking way, not in a crass way, but in a way that truly shares what I have gone through and things that I can share with you to be watching out for. Because for a lot of us, digestion issues secretly and quietly control our lives. Where we sit, how we sit, where we travel, how we travel, and whether or not we feel safe to leave the house. I lived with digestive issues most of my life. I had IBS issues, diverticulitis flare-ups, ER visits, and a colonoscopy at just 33 years old. For years, I thought my body was broken. Today, I want to talk through what digestion looked like before carnivore, what changed, what's considered normal medically, and why silence around this topic keeps people stuck. It's not about being graphic, it's about being honest and sharing what people are just not willing to talk about all that much. And if digestion has ever caused you fear or embarrassment, you're not alone. Before I share my personal stories, I want to lay down a little bit of medical foundation here. Because digestion is one of those areas that people have a lot of confusion and unnecessary fears about. Medically speaking, there's a wide range of what would be considered normal when it comes to bowel movements. Most medical literature would agree that it can range from anywhere from about 3 times a day to about 3 times a week. So frequency doesn't necessarily define if someone is healthy or unhealthy. What matters more than frequency is consistency, comfort, and predictability. Another factor that doctors look at is stool form. Generally speaking, a bowel movement is to be formed, soft but solid, easy to pass, and does not come with pain or cramping or urgency. Chronic looseness, constant urgency, pain, bleeding, all of those things you need to consult with a medical doctor. A bowel movement is the body eliminating waste material. Things like indigestible food components, bacteria, excess bile, and byproducts of digestion. More frequent or larger bowel movements does not necessarily mean better digestion. If the body is digesting and absorbing most of what you eat, there may simply be less waste for your body to eliminate. Animal-based foods are typically highly digestible and low residue, meaning they tend to have less waste behind to get rid of. Because of that, people notice smaller or less frequent bowel movements when you eat this way. And for them, that can be completely normal as long as it's not painful, uncomfortable, or causing distress. I want to say that digestion is highly individual. And this is not medical advice, it's just general principle sharing my experience along the carnivore journey and my personal digestion issues. For me, digestion was never calm. For as long as I can remember, I had IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And I say this honestly, I do not remember a time in my childhood, adulthood, and up until the moment I started carnivore that I didn't have a loose stool. It was a constant rushing to the bathroom. It was typically 5 to 8 times a day, and I'm being very serious when I say that. The moment I would finish eating food, a lot of times I would have to run to the restroom. And when something like that is normal for long enough, you begin to think that is normal, and you stop questioning it. But what you don't ever stop feeling is that anxiety, the fear of where you're going to go, how long you're going to be there, access to bathrooms, knowing what food is going to cause you to need to go to the restroom more frequently. It's this subconsciousness that's always there and is always a concern. That kind of stress doesn't just affect your digestion, it affects your entire life. It affects how you live your life. There were moments that my digestion issues didn't just cause discomfort, they caused shame. I can remember a specific story in my young adulthood that we went over to a friend's house and We had a big meal. We were having a good time. And then it hit me. I need to go to the restroom. But the restroom was right in the room that everyone was meeting. There was just a door, the bathroom door, that was blocking the restroom from the party and the gathering of people. I was so embarrassed. I was afraid of being heard or judged, so I just avoided it. And leaving led to one of the most humiliating things that have ever happened to me. I messed myself as a young adult. I'm not saying that for shock. I'm sharing this because shame steals dignity, and silence keeps people stuck in cycles that they don't deserve. So yes, while it was humiliating for me, I can laugh about it now. But at that time, I couldn't share that with anyone because of how I feel that would be perceived from others. That's why I want to share this, is because I want people to know that there is a way to break free from that. Another moment stands out while I was in China teaching English to college students. We were there visiting a McDonald's in this province that we were staying, and again, it hit me and I had to go to the restroom. And there are some public restrooms in China that are simply holes in the ground. It was an instance that there was no ability for me to make it to that spot to do my business. And so I made a mess. Another moment while representing Americans in another country, I humiliated myself. Between unfamiliar food, the pain, and the urgency, it was pretty well overwhelming. That moment made it very clear at how fragile my digestive system really was. Over time, things continued to escalate. The irritable bowel syndrome led to further digestion issues, and I started having diverticulitis pockets that would have stuff get into them and lead to diverticulitis flare-ups that would land me into the ER. And it was just issue after issue after issue that would compound onto that. And during that last ER visit, it wasn't about managing my symptoms anymore. It wasn't simply, here's an antibiotic this time. It's a, Jordan, if you don't get this fixed, if you can't figure this out, we're going to have to remove this portion of your colon that keeps bringing you back here. And that terrified me. It's a sobering place to be, especially when you're still young and you don't understand why your body seems to be failing you. It was becoming a reality check. And at 33 years old, I had to have a colonoscopy. That's not normal for a 33-year-old. I was so convinced that they were going to find something wrong that I was genuinely shocked when I came out of it and they told me that there was nothing wrong. Sure, they saw the diverticulitis pockets and they could see where things were coming from. There was no structural disease and there was no major gastrointestinal damage. And that was the moment that everything changed. I realized my body wasn't the piece that was broken. It was my habits and lifestyle. My body was overwhelmed by what I was feeding it. And that's what helped lead me into carnivore. Before I keep going, I just want to say this. If this video has helped you or encouraged you in any way, like and share it with someone who could also use this encouragement. This channel exists so that we don't have to navigate this kind of stuff alone or in silence. Let's do it together. So, early carnivore was not instant perfection. Let me tell you that. There was an adjustment phase, changes in frequency, electrolytes, and fat adaptation. All of those things where it felt like I was on a roller coaster. At first, I didn't know if I could handle it. But I was able to learn from people who have already gone through this stage in carnivore to know, hey, you need to change the fluids that you're intaking. You need to change the fat that you're taking in. You need to let your body get used to it a little bit. But the difference was this. Things were moving towards stability, not chaos. Change didn't mean damage. For the first time, it felt like my digestion was calming down instead of fighting me. Today, my digestion is predictable. My stools are formed, comfortable, and calm. I usually go twice, maybe 3 times a week. And I've learned in those moments that it's more frequent or there are struggles to adjust my fluid intake, to adjust my fat intake. Do I need more fat to make things a little easier on me? Do I need to remove some fat because things are getting loose on me? You're able to pay attention when you know all of the foods that you're taking in. And with me now going a couple to a few times a week, that's a sign of efficient digestion and low waste. I don't live in fear or urgency anymore. I don't plan my trips or day around where the bathrooms are or how convenient it is to get away. I go and I enjoy it. My digestion finally feels like it's working with me and not against me. And I hope you find the same for yourself. Because for me, it was normal to go 5 to 8 times a day. And to me, that was normal. But getting to be where I'm at now, can just see at how out of whack my body was, and it was screaming, Jordan, fix some things. But I want to say, reduced frequency isn't by itself a red flag. Pain, bleeding, cramping, dizziness, or unexplained sudden changes, those are things that you need to be worried about. Everyone's body is different, and persistent symptoms and struggles should always be communicated and talked through with your medical doctor. But there are areas that you can control. Being sure that you are eating simply whole foods is taking the control where you get to see what you're taking in versus the mystery ingredients that you have no clue what you're taking in. Once you start eliminating things, if your issues persist, you now can go to your doctor and say, hey, here's what I'm eating. Here are things that I need help understanding. Or you begin eliminating things to see if you can find out for yourself. Because while there are fantastic medical doctors out there that will lead you and guide you in your health, there are things that you need to take control of. And the things that you eat, the food you buy, and the food you partake in, those are things that you can control. This isn't about perfection, as I always say. This is about digestive stability and peace. And it's crazy how finding peace in my digestion has led to peace almost everywhere else by simply eating meat and meat products. That's it. It's as simple as that has been for me. So again, I want you to know that you should not feel shame. Shame thrives in silence. Healing doesn't. When we're healing, we want to shout it from the rooftops. And so if you are dealing with shame of your digestion issues, you take a little bit of control. You eat the whole foods and see what you know is affecting you, and you discuss those things with your medical doctor. This channel exists so that we can talk about the real life, even the uncomfortable parts, so that we get to share in the real results with one another. If any part of this resonated with you and you're comfortable, share it in the comments. I want to hear from you. Do you have a crazy story like I do? I could probably go on and on with the embarrassing stories of being stuck in a bathroom because of my digestion issues. And there's no shame in that, because we're all trying to find a better health, and through that we find a better self. So I encourage you, if you want to see more of this channel and what's going on, hit that subscribe button to see what's coming next. I appreciate you sticking around for such a crass conversation on digestion, but I always want to share with you even the darkest side of my life before carnivore, and even the struggles that I've carried into carnivore. And until next time, go forth and carnivore. Bye, guys.